I'm not going to talk about basketball. Nothing's happened with our team in the last 6 hours. We're going to start the same way tonight. Any basketball questions don't matter. Since we left shoot-around, 14 children were killed 400 miles from here, and a teacher. And in the last 10 days, we've had elderly black people killed in a supermarket in Buffalo. We've had Asian churchgoers killed in Southern California, and now we have children murdered at school. When are we going to do something? I'm tired. I'm so tired of getting up here and offering condolences to the devastated families that are out there. I'm so tired of I'm tired of the moments of silence. Enough. There's 50 senators right now who refuse to vote on H.R. 8, which is a background check rule that the House passed a couple of years ago. It's been sitting there for 2 years. And there's a reason they won't vote on it, to hold on to power. So I ask you, Mitch McConnell, I ask all of you senators who refuse to do anything about the violence and school shootings and supermarket shootings, I ask you, are you going to put your own desire for power ahead of the lives of our children and our elderly and our churchgoers? Because that's what it looks like. It's what we do every week. So I'm fed up. I've had enough. We're going to play the game tonight, but I want every person here, every person listening to this, to think about your own child or grandchild or mother or father or sister, brother. How would you feel if this happened to you today? We can't get numb to this. We can't sit here and just read about it and go, well, let's have a moment of silence. Yeah, go Dubs, you know. Come on, Mavs, let's go. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go play a basketball game. And 50 senators in Washington are going to hold us hostage. Do you realize that 90% of Americans, regardless of political party, want background check, universal background check? 90% of us, we are being held hostage by 50 senators in Washington who refuse to even put it to a vote, despite what we, the American people, want. They won't vote on it because they want to hold on to their own power. It's pathetic. I've had enough.
Parents, I wonder how your children came home today. They may have come through the door like a human hormone cyclone, exploding loudly through the room and leaving a trail of clothes, shoes, and backpacks before raiding the pantry and departing quickly to level another section of the house. They may have come in without a sound, head down, earbuds still embedded, communicating with only a series of grunts and nods, which you've somehow magically learned to decipher. They may have come in exuberantly after making the football team, or devastated by a text-delivered breakup, or frustrated with that math grade that they can't seem to get any higher than really low. I don't know how your children came home today, but likely they did come home. If they did, get on your knees and be grateful. If they did, consider yourself fortunate. Some children didn't come home today. Some children died in their school. Some children were taken violently in the glorious prime of their radiant young lives, and what's worse is that it will barely be news in America for more than a day. Some children didn't come home, and our politicians, and many of our citizens, barely lifted their heads beyond quick empty thoughts and prayers tweets they think exonerate them from culpability and exempt them from action. This is because too much of America is losing something critical. We're losing our outrage when children are murdered with guns. We're losing the ability to be rightly moved to sickness at what we've become. Too many of us have forgotten that kids aren't supposed to get shot in schools like this, that this isn't natural, that it is a global embarrassment, that it is the shared sin in which we are complicit. I haven't forgotten. I haven't forgotten that right now, more parents are walking through a personal hell that no parent should walk through, one that thousands of parents and grandparents and neighbors and boyfriends and best friends and classmates are forced to walk through every single month, a hell that is largely preventable. America needs to recover its outrage. It needs to revive its compassionate heart. It needs to reclaim its soul. Our people need to treasure the lives of children more than we do the weapons they are killed with. We need to stop clinging to antiquated words about well-armed militias, while our schools and shopping malls and churches and concerts are becoming war zones. We need to stop making excuses why we have the highest rates of gun violence in developed nations. We need the professed pro-life Christian community to loudly advocate for the sanctity of gun victims' lives. We need conservative politicians to get out of bed with the NRA so that more children get to bound through their own front doors, raid their parents' refrigerators, and sleep in their own beds. We need to stop perpetuating the ridiculous nonsense that the way to reduce gun violence is to give more people more guns. We need to figure out a way to create a country where an elementary school student or a teenager not coming home is such an anomaly that it is again newsworthy, that it is shocking, that it does set off an alarm in us. The children who didn't come home today deserve to come home. They deserve to be watching this sunrise, to be a part of this day, to be doing all the noisy, goofy, unpredictable, beautiful things that young people do when they come home. Their parents deserve to have them come home, to be dealing with all the sleeplessness and laughter and stress and bittersweetness that parents experience each day, trying to help their children navigate the normal minefields of this life. They don't deserve to be planning funerals. No parent deserves this. I'm not okay when children don't come home. I don't think any of us should be. I'm not okay with a political party beholden to guns and the gun makers. I'm not okay that my 12-year-old daughter has to do active shooter drills in school so she learns where to hide when a violent person shows up with weapons no non-military human being outside of a war zone should need. I'm not okay that hundreds of kids were terrified or sent frantic texts to their parents and scrawled their names on their arms with markers so they could be identified. America, we are badly broken, and we need to be fixed. Actually, we need to fix ourselves. We need to face our gun problem. And yes, it is a gun problem. It is other things too. An anger problem, and a mental health problem, and a violence problem, and a bigotry problem, and a toxic masculinity problem. But make no mistake, it is predominantly a gun problem. Our easy access to, and our singular advocacy for, and our blind worship of them. We need to do something with the greatest of urgency and without delay. We need to make sure more children come home.
Mr. President, there are 14 kids dead in an elementary school in Texas right now. What are we doing? What are we doing? Just days after a shooter walked into a grocery store to gun down African American patrons, we have another Sandy Hook on our hands. What are we doing? There have been more mass shootings than days in the year. Our kids are living in fear every single time they set foot in a classroom because they think they're going to be next. What are we doing? Why do you spend all this time running for the United States Senate? Why do you go through all the hassle of getting this job, of putting yourself in a position of authority, if your answer is that as this slaughter increases, as our kids run for their lives, we do nothing? What are we doing? Why are you here? If not to solve a problem as existential as this. This isn't inevitable. These kids weren't unlucky. This only happens in this country and nowhere else. Nowhere else do little kids go to school thinking that they might be shot that day. Nowhere else do parents have to talk to their kids, as I have had to do, about why they got locked into a bathroom and told to be quiet for 5 minutes just in case a bad man entered that building. Nowhere else does that happen except here in the United States of America, and it is a choice. It is our choice to let it continue. What are we doing? In Sandy Hook Elementary School, after those kids came back into those classrooms, they had to adopt a practice in which there would be a safe word that the kids would say if they started to get thoughts in their brain about what they saw that day. If they started to get nightmares during the day, reliving stepping over their classmates' bodies as they tried to flee the school. In one classroom, that word was monkey. And over and over through the day, kids would stand up and yell, "Monkey!" And a teacher or a paraprofessional would have to go over to that kid, take them out of the classroom, talk to them about what they had seen, work them through their issues. Sandy Hook will never, ever be the same. This community in Texas will never, ever be the same. Why? Why are we here? If not to try to make sure that fewer schools and fewer communities go through what Sandy Hook has gone through, what Uvalde is going through. Our heart is breaking for these families. Every ounce of love and thoughts and prayers we can send, we are sending. But I'm here on this floor to beg, to literally get down on my hands and knees and beg my colleagues. Find a path forward here. Work with us to find a way to pass laws that make this less likely. I understand my Republican colleagues will not agree to everything that I may support, but there is a common denominator that we can find. There is a place where we can achieve agreement that may not guarantee that America never, ever again sees a mass shooting, that may not overnight cut in half the number of murders that happen in America. It will not solve the problem of American violence by itself, but by doing something, we at least stop sending this quiet message of endorsement to these killers whose brains are breaking, who see the highest levels of government doing nothing, shooting after shooting. What are we doing? Why are we here? What are we doing? I yield the floor.